Thank you very much, Pablo, and thank you, Lillian, and thank you to Chiasma for the opportunity. I've enjoyed watching the work of this group over the years, and I think it's getting stronger and stronger. I love listening to life stories, my own especially. But I've actually become a bit critical with time. Sometimes after you hear a life story, you think, it can't be that good, and sure enough, after a little while, you realise it wasn't that good. So I'm going to tell you mine tonight in what I might call an annotated style. Maybe I could say I'm going to tell it in triplicate, because what I'll do is tell you my simple life story and then maybe give you an insight into the positives and negatives behind each fact or step along the way. My first degree was in veterinary science in Australia. Now on the positive side, you're probably thinking, oh, that's a clever boy, wasn't it? You know, a very wise decision to do veterinary science. And notice you mentioned first degree. It's starting to sound a bit impressive already, isn't it? Negative side, I actually wanted to do forestry or zoology, and I made my decision on the beach as a 17 or 18-year-old one day when my brother's girlfriend at the time said to me, you don't want to do forestry, you want to do veterinary science. The trouble was this was about 2 days before the closing date for nominating your preferences to university. So I hitchhiked 200 kilometres back to the city, changed my preferences to veterinary science, and then went back to the beach. After some years of veterinary science, I was selected to do a master's degree in Canada. Ooh, that's sounding very impressive, isn't it? I mean, obviously he's been recognised early for his talent. I wonder who selected him, actually. Truth was, I missed out on the job in Zimbabwe. Regional veterinary officer vaccinating gnus and wildebeest. Can you imagine? So I was that close to a very different life story. I then returned to Australia to do a PhD. PhD, it's returning, I like that. Sounds like the prodigal son a little bit, doesn't it? You know, he came back, obviously starting to really show his talent here, so that's probably a pretty good sign. You know, during the 2 years I was in Canada, only one guy wrote to me and offered me a job, and that's the one I took. I actually made it into a PhD after I got the job, and then I took 6 years to complete it. I then became the director of a research institute at the age of 35. Oh, that sounds impressive, doesn't it? I mean, clearly he's come a long way, and at such a young age, really. My 3 competitors for this job were 3 old guys, about as old as I am now, who were incumbent in the second tier of this organisation, and the employers didn't actually want to put any of those into the top job above any other. So they chose the young guy from outside. You got it? That was me. I moved to New Zealand and took up a larger director's job in research over here. An Aussie going to New Zealand? So there is something strange about him already. Actually, for me, it wasn't a problem at all. I really, my boyhood hero was Edmund Hillary. And at that time, I really liked David Long's politics, so it was not a problem at all. My love of working where the rubber hit the road or where science really made a difference in the community was what drew me into the startup space. Oh, he's passionate about something, isn't he? Now, come on, he's really got passion as well as brains. Truth was, I wasn't very good at basic research. What I was very good at, though, was translating or interpreting or bridging the gap between science and the real world, or science and the application, or science and commerce. That was my special skill. I was able to see the connections and understand what was needed, and really putting this together with this was my special talent. Which brought me into contact with the venture capital community, which I really enjoyed. Now that was a bit of a leap, wasn't it? Yeah, I reckon quite a leap, really. It was then that I, along with a new friend and colleague, spotted a gap in the market. Nobody else was venture investing in the life sciences, and so we decided to found BioPacific Ventures. So it was a leap of faith, but a pretty brave one, I have to say. Truth was, I knew no one was investing in the life sciences because I'd been trying to get money into life science startups for 3 years with a total lack of success. That's why I co-founded BioPacific Ventures. So, after that point, we fundraised for about 18 months, taking out the Australia-New Zealand story, Australia-New Zealand being very competent, very solid food-producing nations, very internationally competitive in biotech, and where food meets biotech was going to be an attractive investment proposition for the rest of the world to consider down here. That fundraising, as I said, took 18 months. We managed to raise $100 million, and we opened our doors in March 2005. Since that time, we've made 9 investments, both in Australia and New Zealand, and we have another 2 in the pipeline, and we've enjoyed particularly that focus on the health and wellness space. It's done us a lot of good. So that's my career. I summarise it probably, at the risk of using a homily, by saying that luck is where opportunity meets preparation. It's a saying that seems to have explained a lot of the twists and turns in my career, and I genuinely believe it. Certainly it was luck that I was offered that director's position in a research institute at a young age, but the preparation was that I clearly identified myself as a competent younger player at that time. There were a lot of people that could have done the job as well or better than me, but for reasons of my performance and delivery on other tasks, I was actually considered for the job and landed it. It was luck that I was in the right place at the right time to start the Bio-Pacific Ventures Fund. But again, that interpretive skill meant that I was one of the people able to clearly explain to both sides of the equation what the value proposition was. That where science meets markets is where there's a lot of value created, and that was very useful, and I was prepared when that luck came along. It was luck that I missed the Zimbabwean job. No, that was just dumb luck. So let me finish now by talking briefly about what venture capitalists do, what Bio-Pacific Ventures do, and in a nutshell, venture capitalists start by convincing a small number of people to let them invest a large amount of their money into slightly risky stuff. Venture capital, after it's done this convincing, has to then make very intelligent and very well analysed decisions about what it is and isn't going to invest in. And the minute it makes an investment in a young company, we work like crazy to make the best we can out of that company. That is our everyday job, our bread and butter job, our 24/7 job is to make the best we can of the companies we've invested in. Because within that lies our future success, it lies the returns to our investors, not to mention returns to